Listen, if it's one thing that I'm pretty sure we're all aware of is that life is out here moving fast, okay? It's a lot going on. We got society telling us what we should be doing, we should be, all while we're still trying to figure ourselves out. But you know what we can do? We can be mindful of where we are in this present moment and take small steps towards becoming better by the day and towards reaching our God-given purpose. So let's figure it out and work through it together. Welcome to Mindfull Moments, y'all. A space where we talk it out, laugh it out, cry it out, hash it out. Listen, just get it all out, okay? This is a safe space for you where we talk about the ups, the downs, even the in-betweens. A place where we go through it so we can grow through it. Tune in every week as we fill our minds with who we're destined to be, with positivity, with awareness, and honestly, just with love. So I encourage you, let's be mindful of today in hopes for, yes, a better you, but also in hopes for a better tomorrow. Again, welcome to Mindful Moments. Welcome back to another episode of Mindful Moments. I'm your host, Jada Lowe. If y'all are back listening, thank you for coming back. Thank you for spinning the block on the Mindful Moments pod. If this is your first time listening, listen, I'm glad to have you here, and I hope y'all stay and be a part of the mindful community. So y'all, we're going to get into it. I don't like the Terry. Wait, let me check in with y'all. How y'all doing? Y'all living all right? Your people doing good? Your family doing all right? Your friends doing okay? Are you in the situations that serve you? You drinking your water? You in the gym? Are you walking? Are you up and moving? Did you get you some sunlight? Did you eat you a strawberry or a piece of watermelon? Are you breathing? Are you praying? Are you feeling good? I hope you're doing good. And if you're not feeling so good, I'm glad you're just up and trying. So let's get into it. Not going to tarry, like I told y'all, we're going to talk about something that I know a little too much about. Good old overthinking. It stung, it hit me too. That's all right. Overthinking. Something that has plagued the nations for so long. The nations of Jada's brain for so long. Overthinking. I just felt like it was something that was necessary to talk about because I've been trying to overcome it. And I've just been trying to be more present in my mind instead of overanalyzing and overthinking situations. So let's get to it. So overthinking, I would consider it to be where you make up so many scenarios and overanalyze things to the point where, not to where it's just counterproductive, but to also, for some people, it can be paralyzing. Like you overthink to the point where you can't even carry out not just your daily activities, but the daily things that you just set out to do, period, because you're too busy overanalyzing how each scenario can go. And that is one thing that, just stems from anxiety. I struggle with anxiety, and it's been, I don't want to say it's been it's dialed down, but there was a time where I used to worry a lot. I wouldn't say I was overthinking, but I just worried. Well, I mean, they kind of go hand in hand. But now I feel like I'm in a place where I'm more patient and I'm more peaceful with the timing of things. But I also have a really bad tendency to overthink and overanalyze everything. And too much of anything isn't good. I get it. Some things you have to think through, you have to analyze. But when I tell you, I have so many scenarios in my mind, or I just play things out differently, and just how I wouldn't say it paralyzes me. I would say it used to paralyze me, but I would say it's gotten to the point where it's counterproductive for me, but also it's tiring. It is very tiring for me. And it robs me. The reason why I'm trying to be not just prayerful about it, but something that I honestly need to be more intentional with in therapy too, is because it's draining. It's draining to be thinking of all of these things that could go right, but could also go wrong, or just overanalyze, even like overanalyzing people's body language, overanalyzing like exchanges, conversations, to where it robs me of like the present moment. Like, okay, how did Jada just see it for what it is? I have a hard time sometimes just seeing things for what it is. Like, I try to make it something else, or I try to put myself in the other person's shoes and be like, this is what they were actually thinking. If they didn't tell me what they were thinking, I don't know what they were thinking. Granted, there are some times where like you can kind of gauge things based off of how people have engaged in conversation with you, or based off their body language, but not to the point where it's like you're analyzing everything to develop a complete thesis of the situation. And I've just been trying to dial and recenter my brain to just be present. And it's hard. It's hard.com. It is so hard. And some days I find myself like doing good and I don't really overthink anything. And some days like it is a task to tell myself like, Jada, you don't have to overthink it. Then I'd be like, you're right. And then I overthink it. And I'd be like, you don't have to, like, it happened that way. There's no need to overthink it. But I'm like, well, I mean, what if? And I even find myself, I think that I also just, it's just in general. It's just in general. And yeah, it's natural to think things through, but it can be paralyzing, and it can honestly lead to unnecessary stress. It can lead to unnecessary anxiety, and it can just drain you. Overthinking can drain you because it's like your brain it just doesn't stop. It doesn't stop. And I don't, for me personally, I can only speak for myself. I don't want overthinking to get to the point where it paralyzes me, or to the point where it's second. Well, no, because I'm going to be honest, y'all. I would say it's second nature. Like, I'm 9 times out of 10, I'm more than likely to overthink a situation than I am to actually see it for what it actually is. And the times where I have been able to be present, it's taken work. So it's like, if overthinking is tiring, and if taking work is, and if like working to not overthink is tiring, like, let's do the positive side of it, and just actually like, it takes work, because when I say you literally have to tell yourself you don't have to overthink that, I literally have to tell myself that. Like, what are you overthinking that for? You don't have to overthink it. I tell myself everything is fine so many times throughout the day. When I even feel myself overthinking, I'm like, everything's fine. You're fine. There's no need to overthink that. And the ironic and the funny thing is, you know how the situation went. You know how it happened, as far as like when I overthink things that have already happened. And as it pertains to things to come, I'm trying to do a better job of saying it can go well. And the only way that it won't go well is if when it happens, it doesn't go well, because it's not going to do me any good to constantly think about how it could go wrong. It's not going to do me any good. Let's say I have an event a week from now. What good is it going to do me to think of all the ways that event could go wrong, how I could do a trash job, this and this and this and this, even if when the event comes, I do a spectacular job. I was tired all that time and stressed out and anxious for nothing, to where as if I prepare for it and I say I've done what I needed to do. I tell myself to just be patient, to be present, and just breathe and go and do a great job. And like, that's beneficial across the board. And it's easier to maintain, and it's better for my overall mental well-being across the board. It just does me no good overthinking. And 9 times out of 10, when we overthink, I believe we overthink worst case scenario. A great example is Inside Out 2. Such a great movie. I cried. I said I wasn't gonna do it, and I daggum did it. I cried. But anxiety at one point in the movie, it's a spoiler, but I mean, y'all hadn't seen it, y'all be all right. At one point, anxiety was just expressing how she just wanted to protect Riley. And I believe anxiety and overthinking so many scenarios, we do it to protect ourselves from everything that could possibly happen. We don't have the mental bandwidth to be able to predict everything and put ourselves in every worst case scenario to where when it gets there, we can anticipate it. That's what it's about, like anticipating the worst so you could be prepared for it. But you rob yourself of it actually going good and being able to actually embrace the moment of it going good, but also giving yourself the grace and the room to grow if it's a situation that doesn't go well that you're supposed to actually grow in. And while there is a healthy way to think and analyze things through, and there's even a healthy level of anxiety in the sense of preparation, but just in the sense of making you be on guard. When it goes to an unhealthy capacity, that's where it gets dangerous. And me personally, I don't want to teeter-totter that line, and I just don't want to be lackadaisical in how I talk myself through things. And so I've just been trying to be more cognizant of that. So that's my spiel for overthinking. But yeah, overthinking stems from a lot. It can stem from the fear of the unknown. It can stem from perfectionism. It can stem from even past experiences. And all of that goes back to what I said, us trying to protect ourselves, our mind trying to inadvertently protect us in the sense of fear of the unknown. It's like, I don't know what I'm stepping into. So the least I could do is be the way I can best prepare myself is to not prepare for the situation, but to prepare for the situation in the sense of overthinking everything that could happen so that I'm ready for every scenario possible. There's no way you're ready for every scenario. And then you end up overthinking and overanalyzing and getting anxious and stressing yourself out trying to think of 100 scenarios, and it ends up being something completely different. So now you've gotten yourself worked up. But that was you trying to overly protect yourself. Perfectionism. I got to do this. I got to do this. I got to do this. So I'm thinking of every way that I can just be perfect. The only way that I know how to tell y'all that is nobody's perfect. Nobody's perfect. The fear of the unknown will forever be the fear of the unknown until you step into it. And it's like you have to do a lot of things scared. And so when you get that in your mind and not just give yourself grace through it, but tell yourself that you're able to get through that you're able to walk into the things that you have no idea how it's about to go. But that also comes with developing a relationship with yourself to where it's like that internal belief of like, even though I don't know what I'm stepping into, I know that no matter how it turns out, I'm going to come out on the other side of it, whether it's as a lesson, whether it's a success, whether it's an L, whether it's a win, no matter what, I can come out on the other side of that. I'm not perfect, but I can do it. And even like past experiences, it's like past experiences, it's just weird because it's like, especially when like you learn from things, but you also, I think that comes with a little bit of healing too, because you have to maneuver through what you know and what you've been through and not overthink where you're going. For example, like let's say friendships, like let's say you have a friendship that maybe didn't end on the best note, but you want to make friends in the future. And so you're overthinking like what happened in this past situation and how to not constantly and how to not make not just that exact situation, but different levels of that situation, different degrees of that situation, different aspects of that situation, trying not to make that happen for the people that you're about to meet. But we got to realize like when we meet people, things are just bound to happen. We like past experiences is just, especially with that, like the best way you can prepare yourself to not overthink past experiences. I'll make sure I'm saying this right. The best way to prepare the best way to move on from past situations is to heal properly so that you can prepare the best you can for the future. It's counterproductive to go through something and reflect on it and not just overthink how you could have done better, but overthinking how you can prevent that from happening again. Most of the time it's like, I don't want that to happen again because that already happened and it hurt, and I would like to not go through that again. Matter of fact, I would like to not experience any type of hurt again. But it's like, that's not really realistic because we're dealing with people. And I'm not being pessimistic and saying people hurt you, but we're imperfect people. There are people who will be in your life for a long time, and we just naturally let each other down. We sign up to stuff that may fall through because of scheduling. I'm let down. What does that mean? I'm going to close myself off to everybody else? You see what I'm saying? And it's just like overthinking, like you try to protect yourself so you won't experience what you once experienced, to where you end up closing yourself off once you see a sign of it somewhere. I'm not saying unhealthy, like I'm trying to help us think this through, in the sense of you're trying to protect yourself from that not happening again. So when you think you even see it in the slightest bit, you stress yourself out. It makes you anxious instead of healthily analyzing it and talking with that person or talking through that situation healthily, so that way you can move through it. That's what I was trying to get at. But yeah, overthinking just, I really believe you can overcome it. It just takes work, because especially for people who can identify with overthinking, not nine times out of 10, but it's really hard to do because it took so long to get into. Overthinking doesn't just happen overnight. It more than likely stems from a lot of things. It's more than likely built up, or it more than likely has been something that you've done over the course of so many years, if not like your whole life. And that's not me being dramatic. It's hard to overcome. Not impossible, but it's hard to, because it took a long time to get there. I didn't just wake up and just overthink. There were situations that made me anxious. There were situations that I thought I was safe in that I wasn't, to where now that reaction is to protect myself by overthinking what could happen. That way I can best anticipate what's coming the best way I know how, even if I don't know what it is that's coming. I can at least protect myself by overthinking it. And it's with good conscience, it's with good effort, but it's detrimental. Because now you're tired, you're drained, you're stressed out, you're anxious, and it just ends up depleting you in the long run. And so it's like, how do I overcome it? I feel like you have to be prayerful, but I also feel like you have to be intentional with reminding yourself to be present. One thing I found is that when I overthink personally, it takes away from the present moment, but it just robs me of being able to healthily analyze things. Like, if I'm talking to somebody, okay. Let's say I'm talking to this guy, like, and let's say he just ends up looking a certain way. And it may be because he had a bad day, not because he don't like me. It's just because he had a bad day. So let's say that's it. I'm going to overthink. I'm gonna be like, well, dog, he could. I would have rather him have not talked to me at all, instead of like making like a dismissive face, like he just didn't want to be there. But then it's like, now I'm overthinking why he didn't talk to me at all. So it's like we in a lose situation. So what I could have, and I'm like, okay, well, what I could have done was, maybe I could have cheered him up. Maybe I could have just waved and not talked. Maybe I could have just done this and this and this. And it's like, Jada, relax. Oh, I have to tell myself to relax so much. It's like, girl, take a chill pill. It is okay. You do not have to overthink every single thing. You can get to a point where you can healthily analyze a situation and just be done with it. You can get to a place where you actually realistically and healthily analyze things and think things through. You don't always have to come up with 80 different scenarios. You don't always have to overly protect yourself. Yes, you can be on guard, but you don't have to supplement that by overthinking. So it's like, okay, in case this comes, I'll be ready. Because to be honest, one thing I've learned about life is, baby, you'll never be ready. You can prepare to be more ready, but there are some things that you'll just never be fully ready for, especially if it's the unknown. How are you going to be fully prepared for something you have never seen? The best you can do is do what you're capable of, do what you need to do the steps and take the steps that you know that you need to take. So when it comes, you've built up the foundation to be able to maneuver through it based off of what you learn. Not because you've overthought everything. Now you've overthought yourself into the fetal position. And now we're all in a bad situation. We're in a bad situation. And just overthinking, for one, it robs you of your peace of mind. It robs you of your time. It robs you of your energy. It just, you have no clarity. You're not able to focus because you're too busy doing a 9 to 5, trying to think of all these different scenarios. It's like there's no good thing that comes from overthinking and overanalyzing yourself into a ball of anxiousness and stress. And so with all that being, it's like, Jada, okay, like, girl, what can we do to, you said all of that. Can you give us an upside? Sure. So a few things that have helped me to just kind of okay. And when I say all this, y'all, I say this, I'm still doing this. I'm still struggling. Woo. But we're getting there. One thing that I've done is I've practiced acknowledging it in the moment. So if I see where, like, I've thought about this a little too much throughout the day, I'm like, Jada, okay, let's stay present. Let's focus. You're good. Let's breathe. And, like, let's just be mindful of this moment. You don't have to overthink this. You know what happened and how it happened. Let's think it through healthily. And if it's anything beyond that, let's just dial it back and reel it back in. And I feel like you also have to kind of be a little hard on yourself too, because it's like sometimes you have to tell yourself, okay, you're doing too much. You've thought about this for a little too long. I'm gonna need for you to stop. And then, like, and I think sometimes we think it's just a one and done. I'm talking about because you overthink so much during the day, you have to tell yourself these things to combat that the same amount of times that you're overthinking. If you overthink this thought 10 times in a day, you got to tell yourself, hey, stop. There's no need to overthink just as many times. Like, you have to be intentional. Like, you have to catch it, because if you don't, you'll get led down a rabbit hole. And I'm saying that from personal experiences. I've let myself overthink myself into a whirlwind, and it's tiring. And I have to tell myself, like, stop. Sometimes I just tell myself, like, stop. I don't have time for that. Stop. What is that doing? Like, those are some of the things that I literally say to myself. And I don't believe it's me talking to myself in a negative way. I believe it's me being very matter of fact, so that I can give myself help give myself some type of peace, and to just tell myself like it is, like, stop, Jada. There is no need. You sometimes have to challenge those negative thoughts. You have to challenge those overthinking tendencies. You have to challenge it. When you feel yourself overthinking, challenge it. Stop. And then sometimes ask yourself, why am I overthinking that? Because a lot of the things that we overthink, it's the things that's out of our control. Hence the anxiousness and the stress. And you just have to just talk to yourself. If you're for those who are in therapy, I'd advise you to take a deeper dive in therapy with that. And I'd advise that for the people who aren't in therapy, to find you some type of help. To seek therapy, no matter where it is, but also to be discerning and wise about, like, who you go to and who you talk to. And even just with, like, having wise people around you. I've been kind of talking about that lately, because I do believe it's important to talk to people. Granted, I do believe you get to a point where you actually need to talk to somebody professionally. I'm not saying something has to be wrong, that you have to have a mental illness. We downplay therapist role in the sense of just expression. We sometimes see it as something's wrong, so I need to talk to somebody. Something's going on with me, and I need to talk to somebody, or I'm mentally ill and I need to talk to somebody. Yes, those things can also be true. And yes, those things do apply. Also, and sometimes I just need to get it off my chest. There are times where I go and I talk to my therapist and I say, I've been holding on to this for a week and I just needed to tell you, and it just feels like a weight is lifted off my shoulders. So don't underestimate the power of going to therapy just as a means of expression. We don't realize how much we hold on to in a given day, let alone weeks and months. So that expression is crucial. And it's, to me, it's beneficial. Y'all know I'm always advocate for therapy because I love it. One of the best things that could have happened to me. But yeah, to just wrap everything up, I don't want y'all to see overthinking. Even if it's gotten out of control, you can get to a point where it's manageable. And I'm telling y'all that, and I'm honestly telling myself that, because it's really been it's been difficult the past few days. And I just want to get to a point where it's manageable, but also to where it's not as bad as it is now, and manageable to the point where I can see it, challenge it, and be good. And I know I'll get to that point, but we just have to you have to understand where it comes from, what it stems from, what it produces, and I believe that you can overcome it, and you can get to a point where you can manage it. For people out there who overthink, you just overthink every little thing. I feel you, but we gonna get through it. Even to the people that overthink in the ain'tsiest, tiniest bit, we gonna make it through. We are going to make it through. But you owe it to yourself to give your mind the space to unwind. And overthinking really, really robs you of being able to just unwind, because you're so busy. Scenario, thinking. Ooh, what if this? Ooh, what if that? But like that's the overthinking thing, and just like the overthinking mindset for me in particular. And so it's like I just want to unwind. I don't want that to constantly be what my brain and my mental reverts to when put in a situation or when going towards something. I want to be able to be present, but also to be able to unwind. And we deserve that. We have so much going on in the day where we deserve to be able to unwind and not maneuver through the day with an overthinking mentality, but to be able to rest in the day. And I'm talking all these things, yes, of course, overall, but mentally, to rest throughout the day, to unwind throughout the day, to unwind at the end of the day. Like we deserve that. You deserve that. And so I just wanted to make it a little more personal, because overthinking, it's had me in a little chokehold the past 3 to 5 days. No kizzy. And so, I mean, you just never know who it could help. I know there's a lot of things to think through, but I want us to be able to think through them healthily and be mindful of how we're thinking through things. And so this episode was for y'all, and honestly, it was also for me too. So I hope it helps somebody. If you know somebody who's like struggling with overthinking, share this with them, or y'all talk about the episode together and seeing some commonalities and what they do that helps, what you do that helps. And I hope that some of the things that I do that I said that helps me can help y'all too. And so just know that you can do it, and I believe in you, and I love you, and I will see you all in the next episode. Thank you for tuning in to another episode of Mindful Moments. I want y'all to remember this. Take it one step at a time. Know that you're capable. Know that you're worth it. Be intentional and know that everything you need to accomplish the things you want is already inside of you. But look, y'all, the podcast doesn't end here, okay? Be sure to follow me on Instagram and TikTok at O_Jada. That's O with 3 H's _JADA. You can see the visuals from past episodes and segments, and maybe even some teasers for upcoming episodes. And be sure to follow and like Mindful Moments on Apple Podcasts, Spotify Podcasts, and even Google Podcasts. And as you go through your day, remember to be mindful of today in hopes for a better tomorrow. I'll see you in the next episode.